Number 10, Peter and MJ never get together. Another thing that never happens for Peter in this reality, other than not becoming Spider-Man, he never ends up dating the girl next door, Mary Jane Watson. In this reality, both graduate high school and go their separate ways, although they are presented as being neighbors and somewhat of distant friends. It's also implied here that Peter and MJ never got to be as close as they were on Earth 616. There also is no mention of Gwen Stacy or Harry Osborn in this reality, so we can assume that Peter was more of a loner here. MJ still plans to work as an actress, and Peter goes on to college, presumably to study something in the scientific field at Empire State University. Number 9, Quicksilver is dead. In this reality, Quicksilver no longer lives. It's mentioned in Heroes Reborn issue number 3 that he was killed during a fight between Squadron Supreme and the XMen, implying that in this reality, Quicksilver and likely his sister Wanda are both still considered mutants. He is believed to have been killed by Blur, the Squadron Supreme speedster. Kinda like a version of the Flash. He was definitely faster than Quicksilver. In fact, Blur is believed to be the fastest man alive in this reality. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, just a quick reminder to give this video a thumbs up if you are loving Heroes Reborn as much as we are. Number 8, the Silver Witch, self-proclaimed speedster supreme. Either Wanda and Pietro were mutants in this reality or simply still believed they were. Here, Wanda never left to join the Avengers and so never reformed, remaining a villain. After the death of her brother, Wanda absorbed his powers, becoming not only a powerful hex magic user, but also the fastest hex magic user likely to ever exist. She apparently refers to herself as the Speedster Supreme and set out to get revenge on Blur for the death of her beloved brother. It also appears that Wanda senses that something is wrong with this world and Blur. She currently believes, however, that it is the death of her brother that makes her feel this way, but it probably has something to do with her sensing something is wrong with this reality, and with Blur's presence in it. Number 7, stillness and mysticism. In this reality, Stanley Stewart's The Blur is presented in a very different way from most speedsters. One, he seems to live with ADHD as a result of his speed powers, which I think makes a lot of sense, given not just the world we live in, but given the idea of having speed powers in a modern world. I already feel like I struggle to maintain focus on one thing, and I'm moving at human speed levels, so yeah. But the other part of his character that is unique to his Earth 712 counterpart and the world of speedsters in general is that he ends up seeking help after he gets his powers from the Ancient One. During that visit to the Camartage, it's explained that these powers are a gift given to Stanley by the Vishanti. In order to find peace and master them, Stanley must master stillness. In stillness, with his newfound powers, he is able to see into other dimensions. In stillness, he's able to see everything around him, something most people miss out on by going fast. It's not only a beautiful sentiment, but a new and refreshing take on the idea of speedsters and on Stanley Stewart's powers. We all sometimes just need to breathe and just be present, you know? I love that. Comics and stories highlighting the importance of that in life. Number 6, Aunt May dies. Here it isn't Uncle Ben who dies, but instead is Aunt May, which, wow, if you thought Uncle Ben's death was a heartbreaker, wait until you experience May's death. Ugh! Especially considering that May is a character that we know a lot better due to the fact that in more realities it is always Ben who dies earlier on, so we've had more time to get to know May. Aunt May's death here happens while Peter is in college. He is planning on heading home to join his aunt and uncle for dinner before they head out to a show together downtown. However, while she is out shopping, Hyperion ends up in a fight with a villain, recklessly tossing, I think it's a billboard at the villain, which smashes into the very building she has been looking for a new dress in. Her death hits Peter hard. He is forced to drop out of college to help support his uncle and get a job at the Daily Bugle, using his new drone tech to capture footage of supers, who he has obviously also come to resent. Not an ideal scenario. Number 5, Peter Parker leaves the Daily Bugle, or he's in the process of kinda leaving when his one-shot comes to a close. We don't really know the fate of Peter just yet, but it doesn't look good based on the end of the Peter Parker, the Amazing Shutterbug story. Peter is not happy working at the Daily Bugle and is feeling pretty defeated, but Uncle Ben gives him the advice that if he isn't happy, he should seek out whatever makes him happy, work to make that change. Ben reminds Peter that he and May raised him to not let the world beat him down, to keep dreaming big and going for his dream. Which, I gotta say, I love this little pep talk from Uncle Ben, because I just feel like Peter is the type of character that is always so down on himself and so defeatist, and this kind of calls that out in a great way and allows Peter to kind of undergo a change there, which is I don't know, kind of unique. Peter is kind of stuck in a cycle usually in 616. So Peter, taking Ben's advice, confronts Robbie at the Bugle about not being happy taking pictures of superheroes, basically threatening to quit. Robbie tells Peter to just give it one more day and then he'll try to look for something else that Peter can use his drones for in the meantime, something more meaningful. Peter agrees, but he never gets to finish his day and never gets to potentially move to cover something else at the Bugle or leave it completely due to him being bit by one of the surviving Annihilation hive bugs. Transformation Station. Number 4. Captain America remained lost. In this reality, Captain America's history was similar to that of his Earth 616 counterpart, with him being a preeminent hero around the time of World War II. However, after he went MIA, his body would not be recovered as the Avengers were never found. Instead, he remained frozen in the ice for what would seem to be forever after. However, Blade, who remembers the reality of Earth 616 and how things once were, managed to find Rogers himself and free him from the ice. It seems to be implied that Rogers may also sense that there is something wrong with the world, though it's unclear if this is just because he woke up from a decades-long nap. Hyperion himself is shown to dislike Captain America. In his civilian persona as Marcus Milton, history teacher, he marked a paper harshly that was about the World War II hero, encouraging the student who wrote it to basically get better at discerning fact from fiction. So yeah, that's what he thinks of Captain America. He's like, he's not even a real superhero. I don't know why that's my Marcus Milton voice, but there you go. Number 3. The Fantastic Four never existed. Here, Reed Richards and his friends Susan Storm, Ben Grimm, and Johnny Storm never went on that fateful trip to space and so never received their powers from cosmic rays. While we see Ben and Reed together in the second Heroes Reborn issue, there seems to be no sign of Johnny or Susan there. So it's unclear if the four are even friends or work together now. Both Ben and Reed ended up as agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this reality, with Ben still being more focused on tactical ops or perhaps groundwork as a soldier or a pilot, and Reed being more focused still in the realms of science, using that big old brain. Number 2. Who is Nova? In the Heroes Reborn one-shot Hyperion and the Imperial Guard, we get a bonus story featuring the Starjammers. Yep, they're making another Starjammer series, friends. So if you're a fan, yay. And if you're not a fan, they're doing it anyways, so just deal with it. It is here that it's revealed that Johnny, having never got his flame powers from exposure to the cosmic rays, did not remain on Earth, but turned to the stars, joining the Nova Corps and even earning the rank of Elite Supernova. Pretty impressive. Johnny would ally himself with Lilandra in the fight over who should rule the Shi'ar Empire. Together, they attempt to recruit the Starjammers to their cause, and it is because of his allegiance that he was being hunted by Hyperion and the Imperial Guard, who work for Emperor Daken, Lilandra's brother. Number 1. Phoenix is in Ravencroft. What? Near the end of issue 3 of Heroes Reborn, we also learned that the new Phoenix, Maya Lopez, aka Echo, is located in the Ravencroft Institute for the Criminally Insane. How did she get here? Why does she allow herself to be here? I just have so many questions. But of course, I'll need to wait for them to be answered. Kind of. Right now, in regards to our new Phoenix, all we know is that she also senses something is wrong with this reality and that she's willing to join Blade and Captain America's team of reality-busting heroes to help fix it. Yay! She also seems to be a little bit concerned that maybe her new Phoenix powers were involved in this and that she accidentally did it without knowing. Oops. However, instead of worrying about her own actions and what she may have unintentionally done, Maya also might want to watch out, because we also know from Hyperion and the Imperial Squad Starjammer story that Lilandra is also planning on using the Phoenix Force to take the Shi'ar Empire away from her brother. Yeah, Lilandra's after that Phoenix Force and she's like, I have a plan to capture it. I don't know how she plans to do that, but I'm interested in seeing what her plan is. Number 10. Heroes Reborn is not Heroes Reborn. Although this isn't a huge character-based change or anything like that, I think it's important to note the major difference between this event and that of the Heroes Reborn event that came many, many years prior. The original Heroes Reborn event happened in the 90s from 1996 to 1997 and was a crossover event orchestrated by Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld. The initial Heroes Reborn crossover gave us a glimpse into a world where the heroes who had died in the events of Onslaught were reborn, with many aspects of the characters and world differing from the one that we had known prior. The 2021 event, Heroes Reborn, has no connection to this event, save that it's also a glimpse into a fundamentally different alternate world. Or at least many of the fundamental aspects are different. Still a superhero world. parts, so that part's not different. Number 9, Siege Society. This miniseries tie-in has not started yet, but it's going to give us a pretty different spin on some of Earth 616's greatest heroes, so I figured it might be an important one to tell you about in anticipation of its release. Siege Society is a team of villains in the Heroes Reborn continuity made up of a combination of some of our most powerful and capable heroes from Earth 616, as well as some of the main continuity's most notorious villains. By the looks of issue 1, we'll see Baron Zemo leading the team, and it appears based on the cover that we'll likely see Jean Grey, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Sabretooth, and Scott Lang's Ant-Man joining him. The first issue releases on May 26th, so we'll have to wait till then to find out more. Number 8. Thor is not mighty. Nor is he a god anymore, really. In this reality, Thor doesn't even believe in gods. He is an alcoholic who believes he is a human and does not really know the truth of his heritage. At least that's what we're initially led to believe. As on Earth 616, Thor was sent to Earth by Odin to learn humility. Once he had become worthy, he would be able to return to Asgard, and in the main continuity would also become a hero of Earth and a mighty avenger. However, in Heroes Reborn, Thor never does learn humility and is unable to return to Asgard in time to save them all. Instead, Mangog comes and destroys Asgard, killing all the Asgardians, including Thor's father, the All-Father, Odin. Number 7, Tony Stark never built Iron Man. Imagine a reality, if you will, where Tony Stark never became Iron Man. In Heroes Reborn, Stark never got hit with shrapnel in the chest, wasn't kidnapped, and did not end up being forced to make the Iron Man armor. Not having this life-changing experience meant that he continued along a path that he was on before any of this happened, continuing to be a greedy but brilliant arms dealer and billionaire playboy. In the greater scheme of things, appearing more as one of Earth's everyday corporate villains as opposed to any kind of national or global superhero. Number 6, the Amazing Shutterbug. Peter Parker doesn't get his powers as you'd imagine in this reality. Instead, the spider that was intended to bite him that day ends up squashed, meaning no Amazing Spider-Man. Instead, we get a powerless Peter who ends up becoming the Amazing Shutterbug. He graduates high school, goes to college, and ends up still working for the Daily Bugle as a photographer. In this reality, he also still goes out and takes pictures of superheroes, he just isn't one of them. Peter captures Hyperion dealing with the Annihilation Hive on his camera, but one manages to escape the hero. It's up to Peter to protect the office and his colleagues from it. Using his smarts, he manages to do so, but ultimately ends up being bit by this one surviving Annihilation bug, causing him to transform into something more monstrous than his 616 counterpart, a member of the Annihilation Hive. However, it is implied that comes to a quick end, because he throws himself out a window, so yeah, he probably doesn't make it. Number 5, the Mystery of Wakanda. While on Earth 616 and in the MCU, the secret of Wakanda's powerful existence and technology have been revealed to the world, in the Heroes Reborn reality, this information still remains on a need-to-know basis. And it turns out the world, according to Wakanda, does not need to know. What this means is that no one really knows about Wakanda, and its greatness and capabilities still remain at large a myth. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this Heroes Reborn list and you want to learn even more about it, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. I'm going to be following along with it, so I'm happy to tell you more about it. Number 4, the Ronin King? Just as the public's knowledge of Wakanda seems to be altered, so too does it seem will be Black Panther's role. Instead, we can likely expect to see T'Challa take up a new mantle. Based on a variant cover for the current Black Panther series, issue number 25, it seems that T'Challa will instead be taking up the mantle of Ronin. On the cover, we see him dressed as the character with the Heroes Reborn event name below, and given the new identity in italicized letters of the Ronin King, period. I cannot wait to meet this new king. It's like a twist for the character that I never thought about. I love it. Number 3, no more Avengers. In the place of the Avengers who never formed in the Heroes Reborn reality, we have the Squadron Supreme of America, here to protect the world from national, global, and intergalactic threats. Their members seem to take some inspiration from another very prominent superhero team in comics, DC's Justice League. Blur is Stanley Stewart, an alternate reality version of Marvel hero Wizard, known for his superhuman speed and speed-based powers. Power Princess is Zarda Shelton, an alternate version of Zarda. She is a utopian who gets her powers from training and her unique heritage. Dr. Spectrum is Joseph Ledger, an alternate version, once again, of that same character. His powers are granted to him by the Power Prism, originally a cosmic artifact or tool given to him by a Skrull after Joe had saved that Skrull's life. Nighthawk is Kyle Richmond, also an alternate version of Marvel's hero of the same name. Nighthawk has no powers, but is a master fighter, marksman, detective, and corporate businessman. And finally, we have Hyperion, who is Marcus Milton, an alternate version of Mark Milton. Hyperion gets his powers from being an Eternal, meaning that he can fly, has superhuman strength, speed, and endurance, is virtually immortal, and can manipulate and wield cosmic energy, which he usually chooses to shoot through eye lasers, basically. I'm not gonna call it heat vision, but you know what's happening here. Yeah, it's like Marvel's Justice League. The original Squadron Supreme of Earth 712 made their first appearance in Avengers issue 85 in 1971. And I believe they also have like a mini-series, so if you're looking for stuff to read, that might be a good thing to go back and check out if you want more Squadron Supreme, or if you want to get to know them better before you come into Heroes Reborn with me. Come on into Heroes Reborn. The water's fine. Number 2, President Coulson. That's right, in Heroes Reborn, Coulson ends up as the president. It's also implied that he is one of the few people who remember what the world used to be like before everything was altered. I have my suspicions for who might be behind some of this. Here, Agent Coulson is President Coulson. Phil himself is up for re-election and perhaps might be up to something sinister from the way he seems to be enjoying and unafraid of an attack on the White House, which is defended against by Hyperion. I never stopped to think of how Phil Coulson being president might be a bad thing. Granted, I also never considered a reality where Coulson would be president. Totally caught me off guard. It turns out this is only because Phil Coulson isn't really the one calling the shots. He's actually controlled in turn by the still villainous and immensely powerful Mephisto. Number 1, all villains are dead. Sort of. A lot of them are, anyways, but we've kind of been promised some surviving and new ones will rise up and take their place. When it came to Earth's and the galaxy's greatest threats, the Squadron Supreme decided to capture those villains and put them in prison. Not just any Earthbound prison either. Instead, they decided to use the Negative Zone as a prison, against Reed Richards' recommendations, I might add. In issue 2 of Heroes Reborn, these villains managed to escape during the attempt to add Dr. Doom to their prison. Having escaped, it is up to Hyperion to round them up, which he does, but this time they are not really going back. Their punishment for escaping is a bloody death at the hands of Hyperion. All in seemingly one day, he takes out Galactus, the Brood, Mr. Beyonder, the Hive of Annihilation, Ultron, Winter Soldier, the Widow Guard, Namor, and the Hulk. Just another day's work for Hyperion. What are some of your favorite differences so far from Heroes Reborn? Who are you most excited to learn more about? How are you feeling about this story so far? Are you loving it? Are you like, I don't really know how I feel yet? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Indigenous Superheroes. Mr. Decency comments, Indigenous people deserve good hero characters from both Marvel and DC. I couldn't have said it better myself. I totally agree with you. They deserve great hero characters from everywhere. Seneca Ball shares, I'm Native American and this is awesome and I'm glad we have some respect out here in the comments section. I'm also glad too. I love all the respect in the comments. I love when people are just like cool and nice to each other. Being nice to each other is cool, friends, in case you didn't know. Also, Seneca Ball, I am so happy that you enjoyed the list. I hope we get to do a part 2. Omari Aaron reflects, Indigenous heroes are super underrated and are often regulated to simple stereotypes. I need to see my main forge more. I don't know if you meant your man forge more, but either way, we definitely need more forge. We need more main forge too. Like, where's my forge book at? Give me that forge book. I want it.
Number 10, Juggernaut. Kane Marco, Earth 616. Let's get the facts out first so we know who we're talking about. He made his first comic book appearance in Uncanny X-Men issue 12. Kane and Charles Xavier were serving together in the same unit, but when Kane was under fire, he ran off to take cover in a nearby cave. Now the cave was actually home to the lost temple of Sidorak, so Kane grabbed this glowing ruby from the lap of an idol, read the inscription, and possessed the power of the Crimson Bands of Sidorak, becoming, you guessed it, a human Juggernaut. Now he doesn't need food or air to survive, so that's pretty clutch. So eventually he found his way out of that collapsed cave, and his super strength and invulnerability made him an absolute unit, a force not to be messed with. Once he was free, he had to destroy an entire village in order to get that Juggernaut title. He had to take out the previous man who held that Juggernaut mantle, Jin Taiko. Now, at one point, he joined the X-Men, and then he accepted Xavier's offer to live at the Xavier School, but after a young boy he befriended named Sambi met his fate, Kane embraced the dark life and the Sidorak energies once again and went back to his villain ways. But it wasn't always like that. Number 9, Good Guy Kane. For this next entry, we're gonna look at X-Men issue 435 titled The Trial of Juggernaut. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's standard practice for professionals not to hook up with your clients, right? Because Jen Walters didn't get the memo, it seems. Jen was representing Juggernaut, and in a moment of heroic actions, Juggernaut kind of proves that he's not all bad. He has the perfect opportunity to escape, but he doesn't. Instead, he actually saves the day. When one of those annoying guards begs for his life, he tells Kane he can just go. He's like, don't kill me, just leave. There's literally a hole in the wall. You can go. So Jen Walters is like, interesting. Why didn't he leave? Is this a scam? Why didn't you escape, Kane? Talk to me. And then Jen asks him about women's rights. And then the next page, we see this. The room is a mess. The bed has been broken into the ground. The lamp is busted and the windows just wide open. They're just like, we're not even gonna shut these a little bit. We're just gonna keep it open from here to here. No problem, let's do it. I mean, there's zero attempt at any privacy in this scenario. It's kind of wild. But it seems like they had a good time, which is a total improvement from the day earlier. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, if you want, no pressure, but it does help us quite a bit, especially while we're working from home. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your constant support. Now let's get right back into this list. No more wasted time. Number 8, X-Men The Last Stand. So when Juggernaut finally hit the big screen and joined the X-Men in The Last Stand, it was nothing really like the comics. I mean, it's kind of hard to find an actor to play this beast. I mean, you could have the biggest man alive, like the Mountain from Game of Thrones. You could probably play him, but he still wouldn't be big enough. Actor Vinnie Jones stepped up to the bat. I mean, Vinnie himself is massive. That actor could fold my bones into a Ziploc bag easily. He's huge. Very intimidating man also. The character was portrayed as much weaker than Kane in the comics because they had to. Now I wanted to put this version in this list a little bit later so you guys could see the main difference between comic book and movie. He's strong, but he's not quite large enough, unlike his most recent big screen appearance. Number 7, Deadpool 2. Deadpool broke box office records when it came to R-rated movie premieres, and Deadpool 2 followed suit. It brought in lots of dough. And we're pretty excited for Marvel Studios to have their take on Wade, but in one of my favorite parts of his time at Fox was the inclusion of Juggernaut in Deadpool 2. And this time around, he was much bigger and badder. Now, fun fact about this character, Ryan Reynolds actually provided motion capture and voice work for this version of Juggernaut. It was during production when they wanted to keep everything under, tight wraps, but it ended up working so well that Ryan now has another credit in the Fox universe. Number 6, J2. Coming at us from the MC2 universe, Zane Yama made his debut in What If Volume 2, issue 105. Now, he is the son of the OG Juggernaut, Kane, hence why his name is J2. But growing up, he never had that guidance of his father, as Kane Marco went missing during an X-Men mission. But through willpower alone, Kane could transform into this Juggernaut. He made his own armor to go along with the sheer force, donning the nickname J2, Juggernaut version 2. Now, he joined a group called the A Next, which is a group of children whose parents were also a big deal in the super life. He was also offered a membership to the Uncanny X People, which was led by an older Jubilee, but he declined, still assisting them on a few missions here and there. In J2 issue 12, he learned from Cyclops that his father was being held prisoner by a villain called Nemesis in an alternate dimension. Now, the Sorcerer Supreme Doc Magus helped out, and J2 was reunited with J1. How lovely is that? Number 5, Marvel Zombies. Okay, this next one is probably the scariest thing I can imagine running into ever. The zombie universe, always a juicy one. Earth 2149. So this plague gets everybody, and when Juggernaut gets it, it's a pretty exciting time, to say the least. Kane joined the zombie crew and fought to prevent Magneto from leaving the Baxter building, and Kane was a force, but when it came to the final battle with Wolverine, Logan had the one and only upper hand. Literally, he had one arm. He's talking smack to Logan too. He's like, man, you can't get through my armor, there's no point, let's just get out of here. And then Wolverine sticks his claws, not in his armor, but in his mouth. And then he shows Kane up close and personal this new acquired cosmic power. And his head pops off like a bottle cap. Yummy. Wolverine with one arm too. Wow, who would have thought? Number 4, Brother Kane. Coming from the Age of Apocalypse universe, Brother Kane first popped up in Excalibur issue 1. In this reality, Kane absorbed the Crimson Gem of Sidorak, and after he found out about his brother's passing at the hands of Legion, he became a monk and traveled to a safe haven called Avalon. So when Mystique and Nightcrawler came to Avalon to take Destiny back, Destiny had a vision of Avalon's destruction, so she needed Kane's help. But the thing was, like I said, he was a monk. He made a vow of non-violence. He was struggling so hard with his inner conflict to defend Avalon, but also not break anybody's spine, that the guy had an aneurysm and died on the spot. That's nuts, right? Now there's also another version called Juggermonk, but that one is an actual ape, not a monk. He's like a monk, monkey ape. You get it. He comes from the Marvel Apes universe, obviously. He worked for the Ape Avengers, and there's not a lot of action with him, but I figured I'd mention him somewhere in this list because he's too fun not to. Number 3, Professor X. Yeah, next on our list, we're checking out What If Volume 2, Issue 13, when Professor X becomes the Juggernaut. Yeah, what a combo, right? So in this Earth 905, we find Charles as the one who became the Juggernaut, and it's super fun. See, Charles couldn't bring the X-Men together until he got out of that collapsed cave. But by that point, it was too easy to recruit, being that powerful. He had 2 superpowers, you can't stop this guy. He easily defeated Magneto, and the other members of the Brotherhood of Evil's mutants ended up joining the good side as well. He's so badass. I mean, he straight up threatened Spider-Man by telling him to stay out of mutant affairs, but he doesn't call him Spider-Man, he calls him Peter Parker in his head. He threatens him in his head, and he says that his aunt will be told of his secret. Now, as far as threats go, not too bad. That's intimidating in here and out there. I don't want to fight him, and I don't want him to communicate in here. That's just a double no. You literally can't say no in this sense. And then near the end of the issue, when we see Charles fully embracing the large life, yelling about how nobody disobeys the Juggernaut, it's so frightening. We're seeing him mid-sprint. You don't want to be in the way of this guy. Number 2, Ultimate Juggernaut. The Ultimate Universe, Earth 1610, has an Ultimate Juggernaut. Now, the first time we see him, it's shocking. He looks even more unstoppable. Maybe it's the abs, maybe it's the new helmet, maybe it's Maybelline. Who knows? He grew up in the same trailer park as Rogue, and he actually referred to himself as trailer trash, funny enough, but little did he know he was brilliant. The guy was super smart. That wasn't until he was incarcerated by Weapon X and forced to be this living weapon of mass destruction, following the orders of Colonel John Wraith. Now, he was part of their strike force that took out the X-Men and also forced them into Weapon X, so it was a pretty bad scenario. He walked tall and mighty until Ultimate X-Men issue 99, where in the middle of a fight, he was shot with a poisonous dart through the visor on his helmet, and in his last moments, Kane asked Rogue to touch him and absorb his powers. And finally, number 1, Kurth. This last one comes from the Fear Itself storyline. The Hammer of Kurth was one of the 7 mystical warhammers that the serpent summoned to awaken the worthy. Now, the hammer crashed on the raft, and Juggernaut just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and he was in prison. He was in prison, and he got this gift of a lifetime. Must be nice. So he quickly turned into Kurth, Breaker of Stone. He attacked a nearby guard, and the shockwave was so large that it practically broke the rest of the prison. Poor guy. He probably didn't feel it. He was just like, and then it was just white. That's it. I mean, look at this explosion. That's massive. That's so much. The guy does not exist anymore. And at the same time, the Hulk became Null, Breaker of Worlds. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely check out the Fear Itself storyline. It's very loud.